Hey everybody, it's Matt Pinfield, and this is In a Lonely Place. I'm in my living room in Hollywood, California, and I love doing this show because I get to connect with artists I love and friends that I've known, people I've come into contact with, new artists that I think are really amazing, and I love that we're getting to do this when we are here. Now, the reason I'm doing it, obviously, there's many reasons. Mental health, because listen, it's been no secret to anybody that I've dealt with my addiction and alcoholism issues. But you know what? And I got no shame in any of that, right? Because as long as you're working on yourself, trying to better yourself, then hey, that's the most important thing in life. And life's a journey, and you roll with it. We call it In a Lonely Place because of the Smithereens song and also the New Order song and the Humphrey Bogart movie. I'm really excited to have our guest today because Aaron Bruno he's just a great guy. He and I came into contact the first time when he first got signed. And what I love about lifers like me and him is that we're going to do things in music. We're going to put our life into what we do, no matter what happens. No matter get dropped from a label, dropped from a job. And the thing that's incredible was I met him when he was in a band called Hometown Hero. Then again, when he got signed in his second band under the
influence of Giants.
The Giants, I know. I'm sorry, man. No,
dude, it was a tongue twister all along. You're not the only one.
Yeah, I love it, right? It was cool though. And at that time, it was a perfect time, a perfect name, right? It was like you guys and Thursday and like a few other people on the label at the time. But listen, but we reconnected through Awolnation in Brooklyn, New York. You got signed to Red Bull. I was there. It was Weezer, Walter Stifles, I think, from Quicksand.
Yeah.
Rival Schools.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Walter was there, right? And he was like, his mom was there. We were like, and then I went up, I brought you guys on stage and we talked. I was like, so good to see you. And I love the idea, but you kept on going. So I want to introduce everybody to Aaron Bruno right now from Awolnation. Aaron, how are you, brother?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, and it's nice to reconnect with you again, and appreciate the journey we've both been on, and I appreciate you wanting to talk to me at all. And before even you ask me anything, I just want to tell you that growing up, and I always tell my wife, who's much younger than us, that I never thought I'd be talking to someone like you that I grew up learning about different bands from, on 120 Minutes and stuff, and I'd see the famous Matt Pinfield. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna discover new music from this guy, and now to be talking to you is absolutely incredible, and it always is. And so it's great to see you, man, and under weird circumstances, but hey, I think I'm talking to you today, and we wouldn't be having this conversation this way because we'd all be traveling around right now. So it's kind of cool that we get to connect in this way. So thanks again for having me.
It is. And what's amazing, Aaron, with me and you, I've seen so much change go on in your and my life. Mm-hmm. We've been friends through all that stuff. Became closer through a lot of things. But I always loved your songs, your writing. And, you and you and I, these guys are like, just don't give up on a spirit that we have for what we love. And it's crazy. The last time we were together, a great picture of us at the Forum. I think it was 21 Pilots. You guys, who else was on the bill? Oh, K-Flay, maybe. K-Flay? I can't remember.
No, I don't remember, honestly, but it was just, it was us and them, and we were on that tour. It was a really heavy moment for me, I think. That
was, I want people to know about this.
Yeah.
You were going through the LA fires. It was your studio, right? Not your house that burned down, right?
Yeah, studio burned down. And, I did have a guest house that burned down, and a couple cars that, and those are material things, but my heart and soul was in the studio. So that was pretty devastating. And my neighbors' houses and life as we knew it around here just totally flipped upside down. And also, like, I should mention, because this got kind of does the fire cast a huge shadow over the Thousand Oaks borderline shooting. That was a big deal too. My little hometown just seemed under attack, at the time, and it was just really overwhelming. But it was nice to see your face and so many different people I knew that night at the Forum, because the Forum is like this, holds this weight. The Great Western Forum of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, all these amazing concerts, and then here we are playing this awesome sold out show, opening up for 21 Pilots, and my birthday was the next day. So, but meanwhile, I couldn't get home to see if my house had survived. So that was a strange feeling, and it absolutely was the start of the creation of this new record that comes out, Angel Miners and the Lightning Riders, and that kind of sparked. Funny to use the word spark, of course, in that situation, but it sparked this whole idea of balancing good and evil, and feels very relevant to what's going on right now and what we're all faced with as a human race together.
It's really crazy but I will tell you this is something I want to let people know. I was so moved by what you said on stage that night, because you knew. See, I don't know if the rest of the audience knew, but I knew what had happened in your studio, and I got the word. And your strength, but your resolve about how we know, like, and we have a guest next week, Butch Walker, whose studio also burned down.
Yeah,
but I love that I could tell you were pulling your inner strength from the soul of the music, your family, your friends, and man, I looked at you and I said, "That's it. That's the spirit of getting through shit." Because material things, yes, we're gonna lose, and sadly, we've also lost a lot of friends. But we have to fight on. All the people who love us, that's what they want us to do, right?
Yeah.
But I loved you for that, and I have a great picture of you and I. It was Alison Hagendorf's birthday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we were all there. Tom Morello, we were young blood, grandson. We're all like hanging out. And it was an incredible night. But I just my heart was with you. It was so heavy with you because you and I have always just been so super real with each other. So like when I heard that, I just know it's your studio. So this is an important thing to talk about right now, because how did you deal with that? And is it true, the story I heard, that your neighbor, an elderly guy, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just want to say, did a guy go and turn on your sprinkler system in your house and save it? Like another guy, or is that some?
Yeah. So there's a guy named Alfie, and he's on the cover of Here Come the Runts with me. He's just like an incredible, uncle, sort of second father figure to me around these parts. And he, first of all, he's got an incredible beard, and he installed the sprinkler system that inevitably saved my house. But what's so heroic about what he did is that my wife, I was on tour in Arizona at the time, on that same tour. It was 2 nights before I saw you, and she turned on the sprinklers, and I was really, really passionate about the sprinkler system because I knew a fire was coming inevitably. I just didn't know when. And so we had just installed it only 3 months before the Woolsey fire started. So Erin, my wife's name is Erin, also different spelling, just get that out of the way. And so she turned on the sprinkler system, left with our dogs, a couple of my guitars, and some other stuff that mattered to us, like my journal, whatever. And her and I both kind of thought, this is it. The house is going to go down probably. Even though we had the sprinkler system, it was just such a massive fire. So Alfie drives up and sees Erin leaving and asks her, hey, did you turn on the sprinklers? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, no. So he drives up while Erin bails. Erin's leaving to escape to PCH, and Alfie drives back up. Keep in mind this.
Right?
Alfie just lost his property for the second time in this moment.
Burned down, right? Exactly.
It just burned down. So he's leaving. He's going up because he's such a good guy. He's like an angel, He came up to my property, turned off the sprinklers, waited until he saw the fires running down the hill, turn it back on to save time so we had more water. and then bailed. And then he didn't know, I didn't know, no one knew if the house had survived. And then it was my best friends by the name of the Monroys, that's their last name. My best buddy John, growing up, that I surfed with and played in bands together. His wife Emily ran up illegally, which is pretty punk rock of her, because there are all these barriers. People are saying don't go up there. She's like, screw this, I'm going up. She went up with her phone. I still have the video of everything on fire and the cars melted to the ground, all this stuff. And she went and discovered that our house didn't. I'd take a breath. It's hard not to get choked up, but she saw that the house, didn't burn, and it was this crazy miracle, amongst this chaotic thing. And part of me feels guilty for being so lucky or something, but what an incredible moment, and I have it on film. Maybe one day I'll share it, but it was insane. And I felt so much love from my friends that they would risk getting hurt by going up to check out if our house survived. And so, yeah. And then I think I knew, I should say I did know. I was in Arizona. I found out right before we went on stage that the house survived. So that whole show that night was overwhelming emotionally, for sure. And certain songs like Handyman, more sort of the ballads, those were hard to not cry a little bit. And it's not like I want to share my whole story with this whole arena and go, hey, check it out, I just went through this or that. So but that was the start, man. That was the start of thinking, okay, well, I got lucky there, very lucky, lost the studio, fine, but music's in my head. So I knew I could write a better song, make a better record, or try to, and I didn't necessarily need everything from that studio. So we moved into my house that survived a couple months later, because we were just displaced when I got home from tour. We got home on Thanksgiving, and we couldn't get into the house. There was no running water. So it was like, it was like a war had just rolled through there. And so we were living in various places, and it's kind of a fun time for me and my wife and my dogs, just kind of to bond. And all we had was each other. So we just cruised around. And then once I was able to move back in the house, Eric and I, my engineer partner, we set up shop in a bedroom, set up some drums in the living room, and made what is now Angel Miners and the Lightning Riders. So it was definitely a result of a restart. I started with a new record label. I thought that was a wonderful thing, and started with a new sounding record. And weirdly enough, in an eerily relatable way, it feels very, very much like I'm talking about stuff that that hopefully is helpful for people today and what we're all going through.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. When you talked about the fire, like I said it before, I said, man, what a beautiful human being. And of course, I put my armor on you later that night. Yeah. But my heart was with you all the way that evening. But you toughed through everything, and you did a great performance. All the Here Come the Run stuff and everything. And it was a great day. And I want to tell you, so with the new record, which is cool. I said this, we were talking about this before, we went on the air, but a bunch of my friends are like, dude, my favorite new song is the best. Like, everybody was so excited about the song. So talk to me about, was that one of the first ones you wrote, or was that probably, I'm guessing not. I'm guessing that was a little later. What was?
Yeah, I would say that was like maybe the fifth song written for the record, something like that, somewhere in the middle. And it felt like I remember I was on a jog near home, like kind of, I spent a lot of time in nature and all that. And I think it came to me, I was like running to the tempo of the song, one of those. And it just, this cadence came to me, sort of like, I was sitting there thinking like, man, I'm never going to be the best at anything. And nor is anyone probably, right? So,
yeah, but perfection, right? Progress.
Yeah, and there's this constant pressure right now, and the instant gratification of posting something up and people liking it, or this probably unhealthy pressure to be something great, with social media and just where we're headed, right?
So I said real, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? These times, people are going through so much real loss of loved ones, friends, or whatever, or they're dealing with, the disconnection. It's a little different than it was, but it's not so much the highlight reel as it was. And
I was also thinking about that song, how it makes sense today with what we're all going through. And I guess what I came up with is that if you could find a way to be the best version of yourself amongst chaos and fear, anxiety, depression, what an achievement, you know? So even if like all the different things we deal with in life, for me it was the fire, which really gave me some tools to help, without knowing, you know, be somewhat prepared for what we're going through now as far as how to deal with it mentally. So if you can come out on the other side of this, and we will come out on the other side one way or another, hopefully we all have learned something about ourselves and how to improve a little bit, and maybe be the best version of ourselves, or at least try to be the best version of ourselves, because it's hard. I don't know if I'll ever be the best version of myself, but I can at least, it's where you're headed, you know, not where you've been necessarily. And you know, you can, and as you know, as you've shared about some of the addiction stuff, like, you know, it's not necessarily about your lowest moment, but it's about, you know, building from that and where you're headed. And sometimes the mountain looks extremely difficult to get up, but you could at least take it one step at a time to get up that mountain, even though it's real, you know, rocky, and there's some mountain goats trying to kick you off at times.
Oh yeah, yeah, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I think the thing that's amazing about life is, I mean, obviously we've been thrown a lot of obstacles lately, but you know, you start to learn, you know, that your love for your friends, your family, the music, the arts, whatever that thing is, and you as a surfer, man, you know, I was going to say, I wanted to ask you that too. I know you love to surf, and I know it's a very important part of your freedom. For
Yeah.
me, I love to bike ride. I mean, I don't mean motorcycle, like bike
Yeah.
ride. And also part of what a lot of my friends talk about in recovery is that they're like, they miss going to the gym. They miss like the regime of their life. So they have to reset themselves and find a way to get through these periods and not go all the way to the other side of things. So I'm just so grateful that music has always been our thing. You know, music gets you through. Now, whether it's me as a messenger playing your music or you writing a song that I'm feeling, it's like it's everything, you know. And I love that. And I thank you so much for all of that, Aaron. I want to just talk
no problem.
For young musicians out there. Let's talk about, you know, your journey with Hometown Hero, Under the Influence of Giants, and then actually Awolnation. Just, you don't have to go too long on it, but how old were you when you first got signed to Maverick?
Well, I was 21 years old, 21 or 22, pretty, you know, arguably pretty young, and certainly not prepared for that kind of pressure, and even less prepared for the failure of that band, you know, and in the reality of being signed to a major label, and how much control they have over you. And that's why I'm so grateful that with Awolnation, both labels have been independent labels that I've been with, and that's been really cool for me, you know. And another thing, like, I never thought is, you know, there's this incredible pressure for us to know what the hell we're going to do with our lives at a young age. So when you're, you know, in sixth grade and you're 12, they start to plant these seeds in your head of what college you want to go to. How would you ever know? And when you're 12, you haven't even kissed a girl yet or whatever. You know, it's really difficult to figure that out. So, as someone who didn't find any success, I mean, you know, I was in a few signed bands, and one could argue that that's a degree of success, but those were just big credit card, you know, debts that we had, and we got to make records, and I'm grateful for the experience and in the guys I was in the bands with. But I didn't experience true success until the age of 30. And so I want to encourage any young bands that it doesn't have to happen right away. You know, it doesn't have to happen when you're 21. And for people who aren't even aspiring to necessarily make songs or play on stage or whatever your career path is, it doesn't have to be right away. You don't have to go to college the year after high school. You could take some time to figure out which school you want to go to. You could go to school now, Matt. I could go to school now. You know, the art of learning is ongoing in life, you know. So if there's one thing I could say, is to not put too much pressure on yourself for it to happen right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, it's really funny because, you know, I took county college and for Rutgers for a little while. I never graduated Rutgers because I got a radio job. I was spinning clubs alternative clubs at night, and I love the fact that they're actually very proud that I was there. You know, I mean, I was in their like admissions video with like Mario Batali and James Gandolfini and Jane Krasnowski and Callista Flockhart. And I thought it was funny because I'm like, a father would come in, hey man, I went there. I'm like, dude, I mean, I never graduated, but it was more about the college radio station. But I had a great experience being there. But I agree. Yeah. I want to just tell you, I remember when people used to talk shit to me and go, when I had my daughter, my daughter Jessica, my oldest daughter, like, man, you are never, ever going to get to follow your dreams, man. You just had a kid. It's 1986 or whatever it was. And I was like, I listened to people talk shit in my ear, but I never gave up on the fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, I ran a radio station before, of course I worked there part-time, but then, working at MTV, I was in my 30s. I mean, I looked younger. I was a short, chubby, bald guy, so I could get it. But the thing was, I just never gave up. I didn't listen to people's bullshit. And it's I think, and like, Amy Adams, the actress, same thing. I don't think she made her first great movie until she was like 32. You're right. Young people should know it does not have to happen. You do not have to make a decision right away. And we're always on a journey, right? And it's always going to change.
I don't know what I'm doing. I have no answers. Like I've been doing these live streams, and I know everybody gets upset on these things, like don't touch your eyes, but I haven't seen anyone or touched anyone, just so everybody knows. So I feel comfortable itching my eye in my own home right now, in my own studio. But I don't know what's in store for me, man. Like I just roll with the punches, and we'll see where this record takes me, or a next record, but I've been actually kind of taking some notes from your career, and I've been interviewing people on my own Instagram live story feed and talking to some really interesting people, from Duff McKagan to Phineas to Dr. Wu to another doctor by the name of Michael Gervais, a psychologist, and Alice Merton, and just picking people's brains. Yeah, and trying to find out what makes them tick and how they can help me understand how to navigate through this too. And it's been really cool to be on the other side of this and kind of learn and do my best Matt Pinfield imitation, and I won't be as good, but I'm doing my best,
I think you're doing fucking great, man. I love you. Dude. I want you to know I'm so grateful that I have you as a friend, and and I've been there with you through the career years, playing you on the radio at K-Rock in New York City with Hometown Hero. Like I actually and Under the Influence of Giants, everything. And then when I was really excited when I saw you again, we're there in Brooklyn. We got to explain to people, like, that was so cool because that stage was on the other side of Manhattan in Brooklyn. Yeah. And you on stage were looking out over the East River.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a great experience for you?
Well, for three reasons. One, the atmosphere was incredible. You could see the water. You could see the bridge, and two, it was a lot of people. And we were brand new, so I'm like, oh shit, here we go. This is one of those bigger shows. And then we were opening up for one of my favorite bands, Weezer. And but I'll say that we played at 5 p.m. And that day, the sun, I think it was 103 degrees. It was in the middle of summer. And the sun was just directly in my skull. And I remember thinking, I got this, and then we played, and when I was younger or earlier on in the AWOL days, I didn't understand pacing, and I didn't, I let the adrenaline get to me. Maybe I had a few too many drinks or whatever, and I gave everything I had in the first 3 songs. And then I remember, like, towards the end, I had to take a seat on the wedge, and I was struggling because I couldn't breathe because I was so tired from the sun blasting me. So what I learned was I'm not physically ready for this yet. And from that moment on, I took it really seriously to get in better shape and be able to actually survive a situation. Because when you're coming up, you never know what slot you're going to get. So if you're playing a festival, you may be playing literally on the sun, and you're so hot, and it's really difficult to do. And you feel the microphone melting and stuff. So you have to be able to, again, try to be the best version of yourself in those situations, because you never know. And I heard someone say, forgot who, but they said the best thing about becoming more successful as a band is you don't have to play in the heat as much at festivals.
Yeah, which is great. You know,
Yeah.
one of my funniest stories was that one Lollapalooza where it was Chili Peppers, Ice Cube, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Lush,
Cool.
Jesus and Mary Chain.
Right.
I remember interviewing the Reed brothers, and they're like, "Man, we're not used to playing when it's light out." Like,
yeah.
So funny because they're cop band, but they were great. Anyway, I want to say like that was a pretty incredible day. One of the other things I want to address before we talk about a couple things with the new album and then your favorite albums is, I always tell people, I go, the thing that I've always loved, besides the fact that I loved all the songs, Sail to me, and you know what? I tell people, correct me if I'm wrong, but truthfully, I believe it's one of the last songs that broke out of pure love on the radio when a guy decides to play a song, not a single, in a market, and all of a sudden it catches fire, which is how everything happened for years. Like that was radio, that was America. But because of consolidation and the Telecommunications Act that Clinton signed, everything, and of course, it became smaller companies, whatever. I mean, look, I'm still in radio. I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful to have a syndicated radio show. Westwood One, Flashback. Been doing it 9 years. I love it. But the thing is that when Sail took off, and I heard the story about the thing in Austin, I just went. It made my heart. It warmed. Yeah. So tell me about that. Back for you.
Yeah, well, Burn It Down was supposed to be the first single. And what do I know? I was just thinking, I'm just stoked that people care to try to have a single, right? And and then Toby Ryan from K-Rocks, KROX in Austin, Texas, decided, he called Burko, and he knew Burko, and he knew me from the Hometown Hero days, and said, "Hey, do you mind if I play this song Sail? For some reason, I just think this is the song, dude, that needs to be played." And Burko's like, "Yeah." So Burko calls me. Burko's my manager. And he says,
Burko's a great guy, by the way. I love him.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I know each other forever, right?
Yeah, he's great. He's great. He's got a lot of crazy history too. But so yeah, Burko called me. He's like, "Hey, dude, our buddy Toby, who you know from Hometown days, is going to play Sail. How cool is that?" I'm like, "Wow, that's so cool." Because I was thinking, at the time, I think the song was like 5 minutes. Yeah. There was no edit, and I'm like, "Wow, just once," because he's only going to play it once, obviously, right? Just once, I'm going to have a 5-minute song on an American station, and it's just going to be played in the heart of in Texas. And I thought, like, that's an accomplishment. And then the next day, Toby called Burko. I was like, "Dude, we've never got a reaction like that. I've never seen a reaction like that." Something along those lines. He's like, do you mind if we keep playing it? And of course we said, "Yeah, just keep playing it." And then now, 10 years later, whatever, it still remains like this historically significant song. And I still can't believe that happened.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I because I've known radio people over the years, my love of history. Mm-hmm. There's a great story. My friend Steve Resnick, who's a promo guy, he tells the story about how he was working for ABC Records, and he goes to a radio station in the Midwest, and the single by Steely Dan, their first single, "Only a Fool Would Say That," on by a throw. He walks in and he goes, "You guys are playing Do It Again." He goes, "Are you just streaming it?" He goes, "No, it's on the air, man. We played it, and people are freaking out calling." So he calls out of ABC Records and goes to Jay Lasker and goes, "Hey, man, people are going crazy over Do It Again." He goes, "Well, tell them to stop playing it." So I'm not going to tell them to stop playing it. Yeah. He had to be cool to his boss, but they changed singles, and that started Steely Dan's career. It was just pretty cool, So I always
weird thing, like the idea of stopping momentum like that is ludicrous, right?
Isn't it? Like, what do people think, right?
Yeah. But when you're younger, like with my first band, I had all these delusions, like, "Oh, it's got to be this song because that feels this way." And then, because back then, in the 90s, especially, I grew up seeing bands have up-tempo rock songs, and then like the mid-tempo song, and then third was the big ballad crossover, right? And the day and age of that possibility is is I don't know if that's possible right now. The Best was our first single. The next single is Mayday Fiesta Fever.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll go with something third that's a little, slower. So maybe I'll keep the dream alive. I don't know. But it is funny to think back to those like kind of rules and standards that we used to follow.
I share that philosophy with my daughters. I say when they want something certain to happen, I go, listen. And the John Lennon line, people are making, what is that line again where he goes, life happens while people are making plans.
Yeah.
And I remember I was going through something. One of my daughters, about a thing she was working on, she was upset about the same kind of thing. At that age, trying to control it. I said, listen, but you've got momentum in this thing, and this is going to be good for you. So you can't think that way. Can't think inside the box. Let it happen.
Yeah. Right.
Best advice ever. I thought for my kids, And hey, so speaking of Weezer, Rivers is on the record, right? So talk to me about. Tell me about that.
Well, we became buddies. We didn't talk that day at the Brooklyn show, but we played a few festivals with him, and someone that worked for Weezer came and found me in my dressing room in Victoria, Canada, actually, and said that Rivers wanted to talk to me, and I was like, yes, here we go. So I went. I talked to him a long time ago on Warped Tour when they came back before the Green album, but there was no way he remembered that. I was just a kid that like found my way backstage, and I just tried to be cool, and fit in or whatever, and say something probably really stupid, And then, so yeah, this was in Canada, and he said, I went up and I just said, hey man, I love your music so much. I really was influenced by your harmonies from the Blue album, and combining such heavy, crunchy guitars with almost pop 50s melodies, and reminding me of modern day Cars, but with a little more power behind it. And that was a big deal to me because I love the Cars so much. And I didn't, and then Rick Ocasek obviously did the Blue album and other records for them too. But and he said, wow, that must be why I like your music so much, because you like mine, and we're coming from the same place. So it's this full circle muse, and that was really incredible for me. We stayed friends, like casual friends, and we've golfed a few times, and and sometimes I pinch myself, like I play it cool, but I'm like, wow, it's so neat that I'm friends with someone I look up to so much, right? And I asked him, hey, you want to take a swing at this new song I got for the record? And he said, sure. Sent him the song. He sang on it. We worked on his part, and he sang harmonies on it. And what a dream come true! It's definitely a cool, a high moment for me of my career to have Rivers from Weezer on a song.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's crazy because I'll tell you an interesting story. John Pikus, a guy I worked with in A&R to Columbia, was in the Campfire Girls. That whole scene with Jane's Addiction and that LA scene.
Wasn't that Scott Weiland's deal? Didn't Scott Weiland have something to do with the Campfire Girls? Am I wrong about that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but it was all part of that. It was a failure. There were a bunch of bands that were going out.
Failures, so good.
Yeah, Fantastic Planet, one of the most underrated records in the history of rock. I love that record so much.
Right.
But I will tell you, so John Pikus is like, man, I produced the first Weezer demos. So he had the greatest, crunchiest version of Say It Ain't So.
Right.
Sent me the stuff, and I actually played it on K-Rock in New York.
Yeah.
And Kings and the P was like, we'll play it a little more. With Booker, and it was, believe me, I love the Rick Ocasek stuff because Rick, so cool to me, man. I love that guy. I remembered where I was driving on a highway on Route 18 in East Brunswick as a teenager. The first time I heard the opening notes for Just What I Needed, I was like, what the fuck? And I loved it so much.
What a cool band. I'm so happy they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And not to name drop too much, but you mentioned Tom Morello, and he and I were doing a little bit of traveling together when we did a tour with Prophets of Rage. And he's like, Aaron, can I ask you, what band do you think? Because I think he's on the board or something. But
yeah, he is. I don't know. Yeah, Tom's on the board.
Yeah, so
bunch of my friends. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he asked me. What band do you think isn't in the Hall of Fame that should be? And I did say the Cars. I said Rage too, but they weren't eligible. Now they are. and who knows if they'd even want to be in, or how Zach would feel about that. You'd have to ask him. But the Cars was one of the bands I mentioned, and then they got in, so I was really happy. And then Journey got in, and it's been pretty cool to see that. Even though awards are a funny thing, of course, when it comes to music, but when someone wins an award or gets in that you really
love,
yeah.
I mean, and it's true, and it's funny because Cars, I always loved them. I finally met Rick at this MTV 25th anniversary show, and it was my ex-wife. I'm still very close to, of course, with my youngest daughter. But it's Paulina and Rick, and we're meeting each other up top, and my ex-wife goes, I said, "Hey, what's up, Rick?" And she told Paulina, she goes, Matt really loves Rick, and she goes, that's really good because Rick really loves Matt, and it was the nicest thing. So he gave me his phone number to his house, which it was wild. It's like not a cell phone, but we stayed friends. And the funniest thing in the world was there's a song on Candy O. It's very Bowie-esque called "You Can't Hold On Too Long." And of course, I was all mixed up and all that. And, and he goes, "I like that you like the kind of weird ones."
The deep album cuts. That's what it's all about.
But but I was sad when we lost him. He's just a beautiful guy, great songwriter, really nice.
Great songwriter, great producer, and then. People overlook, like I've told a lot of my artist friends, like, hey, you don't realize how great of a singer Ben Orr was, the bass player. Oh my God. And he sang Drive and a bunch of other like main songs. And I always thought it was Rick, but Ben's voice was deadly. It was so good, So yeah, I mean, there's like a version of Drive that I think they did at Live Aid that's pretty crushing. That's really nice to see. And he was so effortless the way he sang. So I only bring him up because a lot of people don't realize that he sang some of the songs as well, even though Rick was mostly the force behind it, And
man, great voice, man. And and it's wild that Rick passed, and Rick told me about how he was by Ben's side when he passed. And I had dinner one night with Elliot Easton, man, the guitar player, and we talked about all that stuff. And it's
he's a lefty. He's a lefty, right?
Yeah, like I'm a lefty. Are you?
No, I'm not. My guitar player Zach is though. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a total lefty. I just wondered. I got to tell you. So I'm gonna one last thing about the new album. Then we'll get to the records that you love, which is it's a part of what this is. That's why In a Lonely Place, Smithereens, New Order, because records are everywhere around here.
Right.
Which is funny, right? Because, look, I love to stream too, that, but I still have to put a vinyl record on it, just hear it drop, the needle.
Yeah, the nice hiss is so soothing for sure.
So, but I'm also not one of those snobs that goes, oh, dude, it's like this. Whatever. I love, whatever you like music or consume it is great for me, as long as you love music.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, Alex, for Edward Sharp is on your record as well. I love that guy, man. Like I met him when he was in I Am a Robot.
Yeah.
And
that's right around the same time I first met you. Hometown Hero, I'm a Robot. We did some shows together and there was a lot going on right then.
Yeah, and he and I had some great conversations. First, certainly Home by them is this song that kind of encompasses what they're about. With a whole band like that. Insane Collective. I love that so much. And then I knew that like their relationship broke up and they had to sing the song together every night. Yeah. Which is an amazing thing when you think about the fact you're in a relationship with someone and they're in your band, very Fleetwood Mac like or whatever.
Yeah.
You gotta sing this song to each other every night. It was actually a love song that you wrote to each other. But it was still, look, that is still such a powerful song. Love that so much. So you met him and you knew him then.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your relationship with him, because he and I have had long conversations about 90s hip hop and why De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, like all that stuff, Far Side, Wu-Tang, whatever. We loved what we said was the vulnerability in it. That you know what I mean? The fact that people didn't mind saying like, we got some faults. Like, I'm perfect. I'm gonna fuck you all night long, whatever,
Yeah.
And Alex was really really, really passionate about that conversation. So tell me how he ended up on your album.
Well, that song actually feels probably inspired in a lot of ways from I'm a Robot and what I loved about them and that scene that we were kind of in together and partying in Hollywood and dancing and, the whole thing. And that was sort of like the start of this resurgence of like new wave and dance music in Hollywood in a lot of ways. And that was right before bands like, or around the time of like when the Killers first came out and the Rapture and a lot of cool bands, that were around that time. And so I felt like Mayday Fiesta Fever feels like my interpretation of that meets today in my world. And so I thought like, okay, this part seems like Alex would absolutely throw down and dig into his like I'm a Robot kind of Alex vibe. And I'm a massive Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros fan.
I love them.
And I've been so happy with his success, and it was so cool to see that. But I knew he was going to dig into that side, right? And he did, of course. And I'm so stoked to have him on. He's in the video and stuff. So it was our sort of like way of coming back around. I actually talked to him recently on my Instagram little show that I do each day at noon, and really cool guy. He's won awards now for scoring films and just extremely talented. And
that makes me so happy to hear, man, because he's a great guy. He's like you and me. He's a music guy, pure. And simple.
Yeah, for sure, and really smart, thought-provoking. Just a good art. I mean, if he wasn't doing music, he probably could write a film or be a great actor. He's just talented in the art forms altogether.
He really is. So we're going to talk about the albums. I asked you to give me a list of 7 of your favorite albums. I know how hard that is to narrow down because I always say, like, in my book I did for Simon & Schuster and Scribner, my memoir, they're like, you want 50 albums for each decade. So I did 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Book came out in 2016 originally. And of course, I believe that you have to live with albums for a decade to decide what your favorite records are. Anyway, I think
so too. I think it's important. There's a lot of songs that become very popular at the time, and a couple years pass, and you go, "Wait, did we get tricked by that? What's that all about? What the hell is that lyric, or what's that sound, or that tuned vocal that doesn't sit right anymore?" That definitely happens.
It does. It's really funny. Steve Jones, we're friends, and from the Sex Pistols, who does Jonesy's Jukebox and KLOS.
Yeah.
And I was very proud because they asked me to come in and interview him and turn the tables. We did it in the Viper Room before all this shit went down. And he was like, "Matt's cool, of course, we'll do it." But I'll never forget hearing him on the radio play this band that were like kind of a ripoff of Sha Na Na from England called No Waddy Waddy. And he goes, "That song really sucks. Didn't age very well." It was like the most beautiful, fucking honest thing a guy could say on the radio. And it's true, right? I mean, you go through those things. But I mean,
some songs actually last better than I remember. There's some bands where I'm like, wow, I used to hate on that band so much, but now looking back, it feels pretty good to hear that song. That can happen as well.
Yeah, it's true. So your first record is Beck's Sea Change.
Yeah.
What an incredible album. I mean, tell me why you love that record.
Sure. I should first tell you that there's no way that these are accurately my 7 all-time favorite records. It's just at the time I was like, I wonder what we should talk about. So those 7 just feel right to talk about right now, right? My top 7 is like top 7,000. I don't know. I've loved so many records, but
I will say, Aaron, that's why I said it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Sure.
It could be pandemic list, so.
Yeah. Well, Beck's Sea Change to me was really cool because we all knew Beck as sort of this quirky, progressive, dance kind of hip hop at times, like really like out there pop act basically. And I say pop in a good way, and so forward thinking and a pioneer. And then all of a sudden we didn't know what he was going to do. And he does a record with, he did the record with Nigel, who of course did OK Computer, which I should have put on this list, but I talked about that record so many times. So anyways, he did Sea Change, and it was so soothing. And for me at the time, I was going through a breakup, and it was a great breakup record.
Yeah.
You know, and the lyric is like, it's nothing that I haven't seen before, but it still kills me like it did before. And that kind of is how I feel about what we're going through right now. It's like, you know, it's unique and different, but the emotions are the same of heaviness. And that record feels really good to listen. Or maybe I'm a lost cause, and you kind of are feeling helpless, you know, and just put that on. And that was really courageous of him, and much appreciated by me for sure.
Yeah, and Guess I'm Doing Fine. Love it. I mean,
Yes, I'm doing fine. Yeah.
I mean, it like always hit me. Every record he does, there's something on it like dear.
There's always gonna be something good, no matter what. You're always gonna find something great in there.
Yeah, you know, and my old neighbor here, who was like, you know, I went and visited him. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. I went to Nashville. He was my neighbor. When he was moving out, we used to hang out all the time. They were putting everything in a U-Haul, and I gave them all my cushions, my sheets. It was Cal Campbell, Glenn Campbell's son, you know, who's in Beck's band with Jason Faulkner, Roger Manning, and everybody in that band. And yesterday,
and Joey Warniker, who plays drums, and Joey played in I'm a Robot. And same with Justin, to go full circle.
Isn't that wild? Like, what a world, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm glad to see so many of those great LA musicians.
Yeah,
they do. You know?
Me too. Yeah.
And you know, yesterday was Glenn Campbell's birthday, and I just remember it was literally the 50-year anniversary, and me and Cal were down the street at this place called Sunset and Vinyl on Vine, and you can play like album sides or 45s there. And we spun Wichita Lineman like 4 times, and we're singing it like top of our lungs. Beautiful moment for me, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's
great.
It
was Roger and Jason and Joey that recommended him to be in Beck's band, which is so cool.
Right. Very cool.
Which is so great. Now, we're both Flaming Lips fans.
Yeah.
Me and Wayne are the same age, exactly, right? So we talked about so many songs over the years. He talked about Lonely Days by the Bee Gees. He said, I want that played at my funeral. I went, really? I love, you know, we obviously love, there's different eras of the Bee Gees. But this record, there's so many records. I mean, I used to listen to like their early Restless records, stuff like Mountain Ride. And we met when they were like, you know, had chain link before the ball, chain link fences. And it's a long time. Like we had a long journey together. But I love Wayne. And I want to know why you love the record, because You See Me Battles of Pink Robots Part 1 is such a great record. So tell me why you love it.
Well, that was after Soft Bulletin, right? So Soft Bulletin had some incredible songs, and the recording was so lush and gigantic. And then when Yoshimi came out, it to me was like, you know, there was OK Computer that changed the whole world and the whole game production wise. And then I think Yoshimi was the next record that just shook me and rattled me. And there were so many great melodies and experimental parts, and also beats that felt just as heavy as a good hip hop song. And the whole journey of that song, front to end, was life changing for me, and made me think, you know, there's certain records that come out along the way that make me feel like I'm not doing good enough. And those are the records that I are dragged because it bums you out and you go, oh my God, this is so good that why am I even trying? But that's inspiring. That's inspiring, and it makes you want to do better and be the best version of yourself, you know, in so many ways, or rethink how you're going about it or whatever. And that was one of those records for sure. And I guess that's why I put that on there. And, you know, all of their records are great and have good songs, but that specifically to me was, I was driving home from a K-Rock event we did at Magic Mountain back in the day. And I ate a weed brownie, not knowing how powerful it was. And I don't even know if I knew there was weed in it. And this guy my friend Chris Strausser's brother, Nick Strausser, gave me this brownie. And I remember I ate it, and I thought, this tastes like a really good brownie. And I was hungry, so I ate another one. On the drive home, I was like, I got to give this record a listen. I wanted to hear it, and I hadn't heard it yet. And it all came down on me at the same time. Like, I was so there's a part where they sampled like a child's scream on that record, and it was so impactful to me. I had to pull over on the 5 freeway and just like let that come over me and like take a deep breath. and
Yeah.
continue the drive. And like once I got to the other side of that screaming part, I was just like in another dimension, man. And so like I'll always remember that weird chain of events where you know, the high kicked in, then that record, and then that record, you know. By the way, I would have loved it totally sober too. It just so happens that at the time, I sort of accidentally was way too high, and then all of a sudden this record blew my mind away.
Yeah, but you know, it's one of those bands and records. I think that everything that they actually produce and write can be enjoyed in so many different ways.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and of course, the first big hit off that album was "Do You Realize?" And it was just wow. It was like it washed right over you, right?
Well, you know, and think about the lyrics of that record. You know, do you realize that everyone you know one day will die? You know, and
right now
that probably influenced me later more than I realized. You know, some of the lyrics, and just such a sad reality, but beautiful that, you know, we're all in it together, man. This thing of life, we never know when our day's up, and all those things. So it's important to appreciate each day we have with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And let people you know that you love so much know that you love them every day.
Yeah.
Check on them. Yeah, take the time, you know. That's the thing with like me and my daughters, and my mom, and, you know, and my brother and sister. Brother's very sick with Parkinson's. It's like
yeah,
it's been wild.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, but it's all right. You know, he's a fighter and he's a cool motherfucker. You would love him. You would really like him. Cool. Great taste in music. Always play me great music. You know, growing up.
Right.
And you know, and it was a cycle that was really cool. Now, Nirvana Unplugged in New York.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that record, because
sure. Yeah.
The thing that was beautiful about the power of what they had at that point when they were the biggest band in the world was they didn't have to play their hits. And Kurt did not want to, you know, he's like, no, it's not a live greatest hits. Meat Puppets, you were going to do a Lead Belly song that Mark Lanigan did on his first solo album. You know what I mean? It was really cool. Tell me why you love that record.
Well, I thought about it. I'm like, well, I probably should pick In Utero, but Nevermind was so game-changing to me. And I even loved Incesticide a lot. And then I thought, like, well, but the truth is, to me, for my money, that Unplugged, you know, brought everything together and showed that they didn't even need the volume of distorted guitar and the thrashing, which I love so much, to say, you know, to prove that some of these songs were some of the greatest songs ever written, even though they were originally presented in such a heavy way. So it's one of the most impactful moments of my whole life. And still looking back, seeing how these simple songs were played, and you could see Kurt left-handed again, how he so effortlessly played these simple chords, but it was very complicated within its simplicity. And the emotion was like just overwhelming, you know, and that was one of the you know, one of the last really serious moments for them before he passed away.
Yeah.
And it was the Lead Belly song that changed me. I thought, I gotta play that song. I gotta learn how to play it, because at this point I knew how to play guitar very basically. And so I had abandoned the guitar, and so I was into sports and, you know, surfing and stuff. And I was 15, I guess. And he, you know, just seeing that song, I'm like, screw this, dude. I'm going to pick up the guitar. And back then you couldn't just watch something over. So I actually recorded it on my VHS, you know,
at
my parents' house, of course. And they made me go to sleep, because I still had to go to sleep at a certain time at that point in my youth.
Years.
And so I just remember being haunted by that melody and how important it was to me. It was the chord progression, the mood, the heaviness of it, the weight of the emotions. I mean, the lyrical content, for Christ's sake, was just over the moon. You know, when you check out the Lead Belly version, it's overwhelming. And so I remember just watching that and thinking, please sing it an octave higher at the end. Please do your beautiful Kurt scream like thing, you know, that only a few people can do, you know, him and John Lennon and a select few can do that sort of thing. And he finally screamed that last verse.
Yeah.
And wow. Because it was like, can he really hit these notes? Can anyone do this? And he did it. And he did it better than you could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
And you could see the band barely, you know, just kind of having this moment. And it's not like back then you could do 1,000 takes. I'm sure they would have given a few takes, but you could see Dave and everybody's emotions like, wow, this is special. It was almost like they all knew that how special his songs were, and they were collectively as a band, and that there wasn't going to be maybe that much more time. Maybe they subliminally knew, I don't know, but that changed me forever and made me want to take music very seriously.
Yeah, it was the last time I saw Kurt alive. I was there, and at the Alice in Chains Unplugged. It was the last time I saw Lena live. They were in Metallica and, all the guys in the band. And went up to, Lane's girlfriend was in the hospital, and he was, really beside himself that evening. And they got him out of there, flew him back to Seattle, and I never saw him again,
Yeah, sorry.
Love those. I think they're two of the best unplugs, man. Alice and Nirvana are so great, So happy that I was a part of it. You picked Pantera, band that far beyond driven, that succession of albums, Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power, Far Beyond Driven, Great Southern Roadkill. I like, and Reinventing the Steel. I love those records,
Yeah.
Talk to me about why you love those guys.
To me, they were just the most brutal band, maybe that ever lived. You could argue that they are the most brutal metal band that ever walked the face of the earth. It's basically and with metal, it's very specific to how you feel about power, right? And it's Metallica, Sepultura is really in the conversation to me, Slayer, and Pantera. And some people could get into like the discussion of a Cannibal Corpse or talking about death metal, but and I love death metal too, and I love a lot of hardcore music, but for me, Pantera sort of just, I guess they were like, to me, this would offend some of the members of Pantera, I think, but they were like, in some sort of weird way, the pop version of metal in a great way. I mean that in a good way, with all due respect. And it was like, in Far Beyond Driven, when it came out, Vulgar Display of Power, I almost picked that one, but I'm like, dude, which one do I pick? And I decided that Far Beyond Driven seemed like it was, Vulgar came out with a terrifying cover of a guy getting hit in the face. I'm like, shit, I don't want to get hit in the face like that, and I was just a little kid, and like, this is so scary. And that record was incredible. And I know a lot of purists would shit on me for picking Far Beyond Driven, but Vulgar was like, they opened up this can of worms, like, oh shit, we're incredibly heavy, and technology and recording is getting better. And then Far Beyond Driven is sort of like the realized potential of them. And I like the two records after as well. But remember the video when that came out with their first single?
Oh, I'm broken. I'm broken.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah,
it was amazing. I used to I'd be on the road doing stuff at Ozfest and backstage with Vinny and with Dimebag, and then it was amazing. It was Phil's first interview ever talking about stuff after what happened at Dimebag when we lost them.
Yeah,
I was at Rock on the Range. I walked up to him in catering. I said, "Hey Phil, I'm doing this new thing, man." He goes, "Hey man, I'll do it with you after I eat."
Right.
And, I might have told this story before. I probably have. It's fine. But we were using Living Color's trailer, and literally they cut the power. So Phil and I shot this interview. First time he talked about, losing Daryl and about maybe a Pantera reunion. I mean, a candle in between, or a flashlight in between us, something fucking ridiculous. But it was great. It was a great day. I remember him going to me, he goes, "Your voice is almost as fucked up deep as mine." But it was pretty funny. But Rex and I used to hang out with Jerry Cantrell here when I would come out to LA in earlier days. I just love those guys. They were the kindest, nicest dudes. But yes, they were brutal and they were great, And
they were crazy, dude. And like, they partied hard. So they were like the underground rebellion rock stars that, and they were massive, and they still remain massive. And I love Pantera so much. I love his scream. He's got one of my, I would say him and Zach De La Rocha have my favorite screams, period.
Yeah, there's two of mine, Chris Cornell, Roger Daltrey, Jim Morrison. I mean, there's a few, right?
Yeah.
You go back, but yeah.
Right.
Guys kill it. Anyways, the next album we're going to talk about is Refused, which has come up before on the show. what a great record.
Yeah.
Shape of Punk to Come is.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me why you love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in a hardcore band at the time, and you know, that record came out and made me realize we suck. This is just this is just too good. Like, and it, you know, it made me, not only, it was just really neat to see a band that I'd seen on tour on the record that had come out before called Fanning the Flames of Discontent. And I saw them open up for Snapcase at the Showcase Theater in Corona in front of like whatever, 250 people. And it went off and it was all awesome. But I remember the Swedish sort of swagger that, that the singer had, and him doing like James Brown dance moves. And I thought, like, this is something else. This isn't just hardcore punk rock. This, I don't even know what this is. It was actually like alternative thrash to me or something. Right. And the band was really tight and really good. And me and my buddies all loved that record. And then The Shape of Punk to Come comes out on Epitaph, which is a big deal for them to get signed to Epitaph, because Epitaph was like the label to be signed to at the time. So anyways, that record came out, and that changed everything. That made anything possible. You could put dance music with jazz, like actual jazz parts and brutal breakdowns, and some singing, some quirkiness, some heaviness, some just pissed off lyrics and emotion and everything into one. And if there's one record that showed me that there are no rules, or there don't have to be rules, it was that one. And that probably had a lot to do with my first record. Not that I'm saying my record is on that level or anything like that, but it made me see that you don't have to follow any sort of rules. You can kind of do your own thing and fuck it, you know, and to call it The Shape of Punk to Come, that's so confident to call it that.
I love it. That is
and no one could mess with that. You couldn't even argue. Once you heard it, you're like, they're right. And it's, by the way, not, and you know what's so cool is, looking back now, because it's been so many years, it's not the shape that punk took later at all, because they were the only ones who could do that. And that's beautiful too. I was like, wow, I wonder if a bunch of bands are going to do this. And they haven't, because they can't, because they were very unique and very special. And I actually got to meet the singer, because they did their reunion tour at Coachella when AWOL played Coachella. And we had a whole moment, and I sang along to their show on Friday night, and then we played Saturday night, and my voice was all screwed up because I was singing along so much to them the night before. So yeah, that's why I chose that record.
Yeah. So we got two more records, and I know we have to run, but
yeah,
Rodriguez, Waiting for Sugarman. What a documentary.
Yeah.
What a story of beauty and triumph, and how the world, something happens in a world, you know, and people find out about you, and you never think that anyone cares. And obviously now we're all connected through the internet, through everything.
Yeah.
But that story is so unique. Tell me why you love that record.
Well,
I love Inner City Blues because I obviously love Marvin Gaye. Inner City Blues, one of my favorites.
Yeah. So I actually heard that record cold fact before I saw the documentary, and a buddy of mine said, "Hey, what do you think of Rodriguez?" And just hearing that title, I thought, like, I just didn't know what that was. You know, I had no idea. And I clicked on it, and I heard just a snippet. And this is back when I was just cruising iTunes, right? And I heard a snippet. I'm like, this sounds cool. This is some sort of Dylan thing. I don't know. So I just got the record. And back then, I accidentally burned it to CD in reverse order for some reason. So the first song on my CD as my introduction to this record was a song called Jane S. Pity. And then listening to it in this reverse order was accidentally mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Little did I know it was actually the last song on the record. And lyrically, I feel like that album front to end is so relevant to what is going on today. And just incredibly punk rock and melodic. And then, you know, it was only after I really fell head over heels in love with the lyrics, the melody, and, you know, him as an artist, that I saw the documentary, which was just the cherry on top of what I was already stoked about.
Yeah.
So anyone who hasn't seen that documentary, one of the best music stories of all time.
Oh yeah,
sure.
It's so beautiful, that story.
Yeah.
I love it so much, man. Aaron, so the last record you picked, you and I talked about Weezer. It's the second album.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many people that I know that at the time Rivers was disappointed with the reaction to that record, but in retrospect, so many Weezer fans love that record, start to finish. And it was a blueprint for a lot of emo, by the way, as well.
Yeah, it really was.
What so talk to me about The Good Life and the songs on that record. Why you love it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I also thought it was fitting to throw one of their records in because my album's coming out tomorrow, and he has a song with him. But Rivers made this beautiful piece of art. Or let me backtrack. Weezer made this beautiful piece of art. It was not received commercially the way they had anticipated, and I've talked to him a little bit about it on a personal level. And I, as a fan of music, I didn't understand what that even meant. I was just thinking this record is awesome. Me and my friends love it. I didn't care if they were playing a small room or a massive room. I just liked the music. And I've always tried to go back to that, with my career and realize that if Weezer could put out a record like Pinkerton that's that brilliant and have and react in a way that is almost crippling to them, and then survive that darkness only to come out in a huge way on the Green album, that should be really inspiring and almost liberating, that it's okay to try something ambitious and fail, because it may not be a failure. Actually, it may feel bad at the time for you personally, but maybe the end result, like you said, 10 years, 20 years later, will be looked at as something great. And that's been very inspiring to me, because critically, I've never been the critic's darling. It's never been like the hip blog that's telling people to love Awolnation. It's sort of been like people have either said really overwhelmingly nice stuff or some pretty mean shit, and that's been hard for me to stomach at times because, I'm human and I try to ignore those things. But I guess Pinkerton is a nice reminder to me that it doesn't necessarily matter how you weigh success, because you never know, how people are perceiving your music.
Yeah, I feel that way completely, knowing that. And for me, I know how it affected him.
Yeah.
That's why when I would talk about the Bends and how hard we fought as a music department against all the other labels who were telling us, hey, they're a one-hit wonder. Creep, why the fuck are you playing those videos?
Yeah.
Like, our record sold 500 more this week. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm sorry. This is a brilliant record.
It was.
And there were even critics back then who talked a lot of shit about Radiohead. And guess what? We stood by them, and I've told this story before. But the day they brought us to Gold Records, because we stuck to just one of my favorite videos of all time. And you got high. Tom York, the guys were sitting there. Literally, they came into the lounge and they're giving us our Gold Records. It's me, Lou Sargent, Andy Schoen, all the people, Patty Lucy. But it's the three of us who were literally took a lot of shit for supporting that record.
Right.
And Tom York was so humble, beautiful. He comes up and goes, I know you guys took so much shit for supporting this record. I just want you to know how much it means in my heart. And he broke into tears.
Wow.
It was one of the most amazing, incredible moments.
Yeah.
Ever. And then, of course, all the assholes who were talking shit about that record were like, OK Computer, the greatest record of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, there were great writers who knew it was great, but there were other ones that were ready to write them off. Like a punchline or lowest branch on the tree. And they came back and said, fuck you. It was great,
Yeah.
So that was a really incredible moment for us when Tom thanked us and then cried. It's one of those, we all got these moments in our lives. But Aaron, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for doing the show today. The
no
new
problem, man.
Coming out tomorrow. And, I love that you're doing well. I hope you and Aaron are all great. Your dog, you know what I mean? I just love you, man. And I'm really happy you did the show. I got a really bad sore throat. You hear my voice is rough. Sorry. It's like, people are like, no, but that's how you always sound. I'm like, well, not always. But
you've been talking a lot, dude. My voice hurts at night too because I've been talking so much. Talking, is wearing on the muscle.
Yeah, it's funny. My favorite story about people, me losing my voice. 1 year at South by Southwest, I'm introducing all the bands at Stubbs, and I've been out seeing bands all night. The night before, everybody's yelling at each other. I'm sure you've been there.
Yeah.
Right there, I'm introducing New York Dolls, Future Heads. And then Austin Chronicle goes, Matt Pinfield sounded like a girl because he lost his voice. On the front page, I'm like, All right, cool. Whatever you want. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, you wrote. Hey, you spell my name right, so I'm cool with that. You know what I mean?
And that's not, hey, and that's not such a bad thing anyway. So that's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, I love you. Good luck with the album tomorrow. Thank you for all the great songs. Thank you for taking the time. Love you, Aaron. And
Love you too, Matt. I love you too, Matt, and thank you for always supporting me, man. And I know there's a million bands pulling you different ways, so I really appreciate the support, dude. And it's good to see your face. It looks like you're doing good, and I can't wait to see you again, man. Give you a hug.
Oh, you will, absolutely. I can't.
All right.
So listen, thank you so much. Love you, Aaron. And this is In a Lonely Place. Tomorrow, our guest is Youngblood. All I want to say is let's hang through this whole thing and keep the music in your heart. Much love to you all.
Peace.